You guys, namaskaram. So, back again with another video, and in this video, we'll talk about the connection between your mind, heart, and gut. So, a lot of scientists have, or doctors have, credible research on it, and they also call the gut as the second brain. And then you hear a lot of psychologists talking about that how a strong gut leads you to not have a lot of negative emotions in your own mind. So I think today we'll just talk a little bit deeply on it. So recently I was reading something around the literature of healing, wherein there were these people whose parents had been deleted in Auschwitz and the brutalities of the Second World War, like post that time. And there were these kids who had lost their parents and then they were just dealing through things through their whole life, through their childhood traumas, and then it was very interesting. But anyhow, I think just wanted to share some core learnings. So firstly, our mind can become a really powerful tool or become our greatest enemy depending on how we intend to use it. So in our yogic literature, the mind is often referred to as the Merkata. Merkata basically means monkey. So you might have heard this phrase that the mind is as stable as a monkey jumping from one place to another. So, anyhow, I think the whole literature around healing also revolves around that how sometimes our mind just picks up these thoughts, certain impressions that we might have had in a very sensitive time when we were children, solidifies it, and then makes us a slave of those patterns, rigid patterns. The people who go on to achieve great things are people who hold a flexibility of sorts in their mind, like water, and then they just let openness and curiosity drive their experiences in life. The idea right now is I've seen a lot of people, be it like in early teens, early 20s, late 20s, in the 30s, 40s. Like, we have so many fixations in life. A fixation basically means that a thing is how it ought to be, it cannot be looked at or changed in any other way. This leads to a ruin, and a lot of people around you would just reinforce this feeling that this is how things are, changing the system and all of that is not very easy and things like that. So I think the idea is we're not talking about external entities here, but an internal system, an internal code of honor that works within your own life. The thing is that having such a rigid mind often robs you of experiences, and then what happens? I was reading this yesterday that the journey of truth is a one where you'll have to suffer a lot, partly because whatever beliefs you thought were true, you need to let go of them. It's like owning a stone, a big boulder, so that it can become a statue. And in a similar way, like whenever you are wanting to ascend in life, it requires a lot of honing on your part from a thought perspective, from the decisions that you'll make, from the type of choices in your lifestyle, in your environment. All of that requires honing and it comes with pain. So, anyhow, I think how we can develop a strong mind that can help us in healing. So, healing is not something woo woo, wherein you'll have these metaphysical experiences. I think it's very practical from that perspective that you stop being a problem in your own way. Now, what does that mean? So, I was recently watching a video wherein the psychologist was talking about how important it is to have a strong gut and a strong mind. So, his claim was that all the negative emotions that we feel are usually stored inside our stomach or on the lower back specifically. So, he had recommended that a very small exercise that you just lie flat on a ground, raise your legs 5 to 6 inches from the ground, and then just hold that position and see how long you can hold it. if you feel that it is well below 30 seconds, you would have a lot of negative thoughts. If it's between the range of 30 seconds to a minute, you would have somewhat negative thoughts. And then basically, if you're touching the 1 minute 30 mark, 2 minutes, then you have like solid I think mental strength. The next step would be to just physically expand yourself in a lot of other domains. But the idea is the core strength that you have signifies the mental robust that you would have in you as a being. So I think it's very important that we work on core strength, developing a strong core, because that is what makes the body running in one way or another. Basically, developing a strong gut and mind connection is like the first step. But the second is not being rooted in your mind. What you think to be true right now, you can just change it based on changing facts. I read this very one beautiful thing that if you take certain decisions which you know are intuitively correct from your heart, you wouldn't have to worry about it. Like there's this weird sense of feeling which we all feel. Let's say we are taking decisions through our heart. We know that these are good decisions, and somehow things would just work out. Like the universe does a setting in a similar way, wherein we all would just need that courage to follow our hearts. I'm not saying that be an emotional fool, go into things that you know are very harmful for you, but it's more from taking the big decisions in your life. Sometimes it just, after seeing the initial facts and things like that, sometimes it just becomes a feeling, an intuitive click. Because a lot of great artists whom I deeply admire, if we look back in history, like there were not a lot of resources, but still they took a leap of faith which they had, because deep inside their heart they knew that this is what they were destined to become. Of course, there are like certain environment conditions which also spurred them to move on that direction, but that is where the stories of people who come from a lot of hardships make sense, because despite life testing them again and again, they did not wanted to give up, because of this belief that I know I can make this work, because this is what my aptitude is. A safer way right now would be to just maybe get an aptitude test for yourself and then see that these are like the specific decisions that I made for, and then start aligning yourself in those environments. You'll see that your heart would also speak that language wherein things are just clicking for you. So healing in a way requires just unlearning a lot of these rigid beliefs that we hold in our heart, that someday back, like those 40, 50 years ago, this thing had happened to me. I know it's harmful. I am not in any way denying that things just don't leave a very deeper impact. But it's time that we leave, as in Christianity we say, leave dead to the dead. So from that perspective, leave past to the past, taking those learnings and having this mindset of just attacking life with a very youthful spirit is important. Because see, youth essentially does not mean that you're young from a physical age per se, but mentally how young you are, mentally how open and curious you are to new experiences. Because if I've seen a lot of people like in their 20s and 30s just giving up on life, having a very, if I can use this word, old man attitude, that now what's the thing to life. You might have heard this quote that some men dash at 25 but we bury them at 75, 85. So I think that is not we want to become. We want to be eternally youthful whenever we are living through this life, and only bury ourselves when the time comes, always being open to new experiences and just seeing new perspectives of life. So I think that is what I wanted to share, probably how we can just make a mind our greatest tool. Because if you lead yourself from the mind, you would want to do things. But if you have a deeper reason, which often comes when you attach or align yourself to a higher cause, higher purpose, you see how the mind gets back on those decisions and then just backs you up. Like for a lot of people who are consistent in their physical fitness journey, like through the gymnasium and all of that, they say that gym has saved their life. Why? Because all that negativity which they felt in their heart, there was at least some positivity that finally came upon their life, and then they just picked up on that. The whole physical transformation that they felt. You might have seen a lot of transformational stories. I don't want to go into that. But I think these are just some things. How we can just align our mind with the decisions that our heart wants to take in certain facets of life. And at times, just also seeing that you might have seen like a lot of people early on in relationships, they get this feeling that this person is not right for me, but still they keep on investing a lot of time, and like years down the line they realize like all those patterns which click that okay, this was not the right choice, I made a mistake, I should have listened to my heart. You might have seen a lot of people talking like this. So anyhow, I think that was a small video which I wanted to share. Let me know what you feel about it, because this video just talks a lot about, I think, gut and mind connection, and then how once we strengthen all of that, bring a sort of mental resiliency to our being, then just following our heart in certain decisions that matter as per our own aptitude. But anyway, I think that those were some insights which I wanted to share. You write in the comment section what learnings you have had, what limitations have you broken, and I'll catch you in the next video. So until then, this is the Vishesh Pindra from Debu Ki Dastak signing off. Take care. Cheers.